Welcome back everyone, Oz here. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And today, with the help of one of my wonderful Discord admins, today we'll be taking a look at some of the stories you guys have submitted for r/EntitledPeople. Entitled kid demands pancakes, entitled parent tries to get my mom fired. So this happened back in middle school, and for a little context, my mom was at the time organizer of student council. She's an experienced math teacher as well and is very scary, known to make kids cry even after they left her class. So my mom has put out applications to the council members on what job they'd like to do at the dance a couple weeks before, and the DJ spot was filled by, you guessed it, entitled kid. Everyone knew this kid and hated him. He came every day in either a suit or full dress with a tie. Rich kid, known to pout whenever something was withheld. Also, someone who thought he could sing really well, just because he was a hired extra for a couple of musicals that he had no lines in. He couldn't even make it past basic auditions for choir programs, besides the lowest one until his sophomore year. He was in the lowest choir for 3 years. Yet he constantly sang in the halls. This is just a tad bit of why everyone despised this kid. When I was helping my mom sort through all these job applications, I saw his name. I hadn't known he was in student council since we don't hold elections and just have a single form you sign. So only the really snotty kids go through and do it, besides my best bro who actually won one of the 3 elected offices. I flipped and told my mom that if he was DJ, this would not end well. She shrugged it off and would come to regret that. Fast forward to the day of the dance. Entitled kid on the form he signed to be DJ agreed to the following simple tasks. Create a safe for work playlist. Bring even the lowest quality speakers. Wouldn't you know it, he did neither. So he took a speaker from the Spanish teacher and made a playlist in about 20 minutes. Pretty bad music for the record. Luckily, I was making pancakes since I was one of the oldest there and my mom trusted me with the hot plates. So I was on the other side of the dance, far away from this kid. So this was the other dance of the year that had elementary students, since my school is K through 12, and K through 8 were allowed. Since these kids obviously had to be watched, they were kept in groups and did everything together. Because of this, I had to make very large amounts of pancakes at once for every grade. Occasionally, someone from student council would pop in and ask for one, but I knew I'd barely have enough batter, so I turned them down. And they understood. But a shock came to me when 15 minutes after the dance started, entitled kid came in and just walked over to the table behind me and took 3 pancakes. I had 1 hot plate and only 1 helper, so I obviously said, yo, entitled kid, put those back. Council gets any leftovers, but I have a couple hundred kids to serve. Get back to the music. I'm DJ and I'm hungry. Your mom said I could have pancakes. I knew for a fact this wasn't true. I'd spoke to my mom minutes ago who said no one could get pancakes. End of story. Dude, straight up, we both know she didn't say that. Get lost. I was blunt as kids from first grade started coming in and I didn't have any time to deal with them. He puts the pancakes down and leaves. He comes back not 10 minutes later while I have no pancakes left, just waiting. I ignore him. I'm done with it. But he has that oh so familiar rich kid grin. Assistant teacher said I could have a pancake. Taste testing. I'll take the one you do after this one. It looks burnt. The nerve of this kid oozing off of him. I stare him in the eye, reach for a walkie-talkie and ask for the teacher to come in. Hey, can assistant teacher come to the pancake station? Just give me the pancake, OP. That's not necessary. I got her permission. Assistant teacher walks in. What's the problem, OP? She says this and she notices entitled kid. Entitled kid, aren't you supposed to be DJing? Other council member's name has been trying to manage it. Me, interjecting before EK could. Actually, he just came over here saying you gave him permission to get pancakes. As you know, no one is getting pancakes until everyone has been served. Listen, I'm just Entitled kid, go back to DJing and OP's mom will hear about this. Fast forward a couple hours, almost everyone is served when I come back from the bathroom. I see entitled kid eating pancakes behind my table and immediately I'm done with it. Entitled kid, get out of there before I come back and get you myself. You can't talk to me like that. At this point, the other person helping me walks in and begins arguing with entitled kid while I call my mom and get him out. Apparently, he's already been doing a terrible job and this was the thing that finally broke whatever leniency he had. He never came back for more pancakes, and luckily I didn't see him the rest of the night while me and the council members got what was left over. Fast forward to the next day where I check in with my mom at lunch to see if I can get something. I forget what it was I was trying to get, might have just been me trying to get Tic Tacs or whatever. She looks visibly mad and I ask her what's wrong. I don't remember the exact dialogue, so I'll give a summary. For some reason, interactions with entitled kid are just engraved in my mind. Essentially, entitled parent had heard from entitled kid all about what happened and insisted that her precious baby boy was starving and his equipment for DJing was subpar. Excuse me? He was supposed to bring it, so he got a cheap wireless speaker from a Spanish teacher. What did you expect? On top of that, this wasn't written to my mom, it was written to her boss and a board member, with the entitled parent asking to talk about disciplinary measures regarding my mom and long-term suspension for me. But hey, these people aren't complete idiots. Forward the email to my mom and add on that they will have a meeting, but no harm will come to my mom. She had filed a report to get him out of student council since he had apparently done a lot more and missed a ton of meetings. This means they luckily knew the situation. In the end, entitled kid got off scot-free, with them compromising to let him stay in student council and my mom not getting anything done to her. The kid is still a little pompous brat to this day, years later. One day, he'll find someone he can't make roll over, and I want that day to be one I can watch. Not happy ending here, folks. Yet. This next upcoming one was submitted through Discord. My fiance told me to share this story as it's one of the most ridiculous instances in my life. Here's the backstory. 4 years ago, I had just gotten off a long line of strenuous calls as I was still an active firefighter and EMT at the time. Snow fell for the first time and, like most areas where it snows, people panic and drive like absolute morons, while there is just a dusting of snow. So, lots of MVA, motor vehicle accident calls. Most of them were minor fender benders with no serious injuries, while the last one of the night was bad enough that a man had to be airlifted to the nearest trauma center an hour away. Now, for what happened. I got back home at around 2 a.m. in mid-November. Snows early in Catskill Mountains. I almost instantly drifted off to sleep. It seemed like only a few minutes before my pager went off again. I was a volunteer, meaning I wasn't paid, but I didn't care. I still enjoyed what I did. At 3 in the morning. D is dispatch, me is me, CH is chief, CA is captain, ST is state trooper, and EG is entitled girl. Name of department, EMS, respond to, address, and name of town for a 16-year-old female, conscious, breathing, severed finger. 12 Charlie 1 response, 0300. I groan loudly but roll myself out of bed and get dressed quickly, making sure I get my radios, keys, phone, and wallet. I rush out to my car and rush down the road with my emergency blue lights flashing to the station. I radio dispatch to sign myself en route. After arriving at the station, I see my EMS captain and fire chief, who is a critical care tech, step below paramedic, already at the station and pulling our ambulance out. I jump in and we run lights only to the scene. This is a small rural area, so hardly anyone is driving around so early in the morning. After a short drive in snowy conditions, we arrived at the scene and grabbed medical gear. All three of us went to the front door and knocked. I noticed that there are no cars in the driveway, which I found rather odd. Then, my brain woke up. What the hell was a teenager doing to get her finger cut off? I think to myself before the door opens. It was our patient. Young, attractive, blonde girl, seemingly okay aside from a paper towel wrapped around what was supposed to be her severed finger. Are you the one who called? Yes! You could have gotten here sooner. What the hell took you so long? It's 3 in the morning and we don't live at the station. Whatever, just get me to the hospital. Well, we gotta look at that finger first, my captain said before she reached out and unwrapped the girl's finger. This is where my chief and I lose our Not only was this girl's finger still on her hand, but all she had was a hangnail with a tiny drop of blood. A hangnail. I look over at my chief and I could tell he was absolutely livid. His face got so red from anger from having to be dragged out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning when he had to be at work in just a few hours just to be met with this entitled little tying up crucial EMS resources for a flipping hangnail. What the hell is this? You called us out at 3 in the morning for that? My chief all but screamed. Don't yell at me, fat ass. This is an emergency. My nail is absolutely ruined. No, it is not. Do you not realize the severity of this? Someone could be having a heart attack right now and no one would get to that person for half an hour at least in this weather. We're all that's in our squad and you call us out for this? Are you stupid? I shouted. I'm already cranky and sore from busting my ass all day with calls and work. Plus, I have a severe dislike for stupid and entitled people that it doesn't take much for my already short fuse to burn up. At this point, a state trooper arrives just as the girl began screaming. I don't give a flying fuck about your issues. I demand you take me to the hospital now or I'll sue you and your department. My chief turns around and heads back to the ambulance to tell dispatch to cancel the rig coming from the paid company as this was no real emergency. The trooper came up to the door and began asking questions. What's with the yelling? He asked. Before either myself or my captain could get a word in edgewise, this entitled oxygen thief starts wailing about how we verbally assaulted her and how we should be charged and arrested. I scoff in annoyance before we bring him up to speed and show him that she in fact did not have an actual emergency. The trooper was now visibly annoyed by this. If you knew my area, you would quickly learn not to piss off a state trooper in this area, as the county sheriff did basically nothing. Miss, not only are you lying, but you may be taking a ride with me tonight. You do realize that using the 911 system for non-emergency calls is a felony here. You just try it. My dad makes more money in a day than you will ever in your life. Mind you, we were currently in a trailer park and not even a decent one. Speaking of your dad, where are your parents? He asked, addressing the elephant in the proverbial room. At this, entitled girl goes quiet. She was basically refusing to answer an officer's question, a misdemeanor in my state. After a few moments, she gets back to her entitled BS self and snaps back. None of your business. Insert racial slur here. The trooper was of African descent. Now take me to the hospital now. State trooper sighed before telling us to clear the scene. At this point, I was too tired to argue with the girl any longer and just dragged my unhappy ass back to our rig and got in the back, securing our medical supplies. Chief called us back in service and returning to quarters. I look out the window just in time to see this little brat slap the officer in the face before promptly getting slammed to the ground and cuffed. I couldn't help but briefly smirking at the karma of it all before I nod off. After a few days and call volume was turned down, I later learned that she was bailed out of the county jail by her father and that she was facing charges of disorderly conduct, misuse of 911, and assaulting an officer. A month later, we learned that she was sentenced to 2 years in jail, plus 5 years probation and a $3,500 fine. Fines for misusing 911 there were super high to deter people from doing so. More recently, about a month ago, I heard that this girl had been seen and arrested for using cocaine and selling it. Not sure why she thought this was all okay, but I would have to assume that something happened between her parents and they had to be blamed for the way she was raised. I don't wish any ill will to anyone unless they do something to those I care about, but in the end, it was her life and the choices she made were hers and hers alone. Like you said, someone could have had a heart attack and died because of this little stuck-up rich girl. Can you imagine hearing that explanation from an EMT? Yeah, we just couldn't get here in time because some girl had a hangnail and we had to take her to the hospital for it. Come on. Raise your kids better. As a quick announcement before we actually conclude this video, I am doing my Q&A Monday, March 18th, so if you have any questions for me, feel free to stop my Discord and ask them in the Q&A channel. And until then, thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.